Hey, Spectrum or Muscle Lines, it's me, Spikers1000 here. Coming to the video. This video, I am turning all 13 Zodiac signs into My Hero Academia OCs. And yeah, you heard me. There's 13. So, yeah. I did them in this following order of Capricorn, followed by Aquarius, then followed by Pisces, the two fish, and then Aries, and then what's the last one? Taurus, the bull. Then I did Gemini, Cancer, and Leo. Then followed by, if I remember correctly, what was it? It's Virgo, and the next two were, and then the next two were Libra and Scorpio. The 13th zodiac is Pisces, which is the snake bearer. And then for the final one, I did Sagittarius. Yeah, that one took a little bit of time. It was actually quite a bit of fun doing all of these, but I made Sagittarius different from all of his siblings. In fact, I made him a centaur. And, well, it was actually really interesting. Also, I looked up what each zodiac sign, which element they corresponded to, and I put that in as part of their quirk. So, yeah. Now, let's just get into this video and let's roll intro and let's go. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Okay, it's me, the Infomaniac, and I am coming back at y'all with some very interesting stories. And they're all overlapping, and actually one bigger story I'm going to tell you along with this. Okay, first part is going to be me telling y'all the names of these guys and the, what they are. They're all heroes for the record. And these are all siblings, 13 of them, born in 1 year. Okay, just a quick rundown. Their mother is a police officer. She has a quick birthing quirk, which gives her a minor strength enhancement that allows her to just be like 0.5 times stronger. So, not really a big difference, but still a significant difference because she is quite muscular. And some of her own daughters actually take after her muscular figure. Her first child was her first son, and the oldest of the 13. Named Onyx Zodiac, and her name is Zoe Zodiac for the record. His hero name is Capricorn because that's what he was born under. Quirk Zodiac sign number 1. From a young age, he realized he was always fascinated with the zodiac sign of Capricorn, but also it turns out that was literally what his quirk entailed. He also learned that he was an Earth sign, which, for his quirk, gave him the ability to bend Earth to his will practically. So, yeah, it's also the Capricorn being a goat, he also went for more of a goat mermaid sort of look to an effect of his quirk. He has goat hooves and permanently rocky hands that are pretty dense. He also has 2 rocky-like goat horns, but they're actually biological. This guy actually clocks in only around 5'10", and with blue eyes. Very nice. But for his hero costume, it's just a red sleeve shirt, a gray body, and blue jeans. It's a very simple hero costume. But this guy is also known to be able to hold his breath for up to an hour underwater. Now, for his part of the story, he was practically just the scout of the entire team, and he's the one who went around looking to see if there's any missions they could go on. And for the record, this was when he was taking his work study along with his other 12 siblings. They're all relatively close family-wise. And he found something that was very important and something that needed to be sought after and researched and, taken back as soon as possible. Now, the next one is, Ciel Zodiac, another male. His quirk is Zodiac sign number 2. It's a relatively very simple quirk. Simply known as water bearer. Because that's his sign. Well, the funny part is that he is actually something called a dual elemental quirk. Now, dual elemental quirks are quite interesting and quite rare, but they're not as rare as you would think. What a dual elemental quirk entails is that the user is able to bend 2 elements instead of a singular element. And they're actually really proficient in using these in, well, fights. And this guy is relatively muscular. He looks up to Eljiro Kirishima, aka the hero known as Red Riot, as his role model. Because, well, Eljiro is a really cool guy in my opinion. And for the record, all the Class 1A people have graduated by now. So, there's that. Now, all 13 siblings have doing their work studies with, under Izuku Midoriya, aka Deku. But some of them, having arrangements with other agencies that they will work part-time with them in their free time. So, and Izuku is actually okay with this. Matter of fact, he actually lets them do this because they will actually have a bigger understanding. Now, for the record, Onyx was working with, was also a big fan of Red Riot, so he was working under him in his free time. Same with his first younger brother. Now Ciel's able to bend both air and water. He also has a permanent water bucket like pitcher thing that he can move all around his body, increase its size, durability, but he mostly keeps it on his back as a small, nearly pimple size. But this thing has the ability to pretty much draw out a limitless amount of water. Now, the downside to that part of the quirk is the more water there is, the harder it is to control. And his part of the story is that he was able to spread this information around because most people trust him. And he's a really nice guy. Matter of fact, most of these people are. But some are, more violent than others. Like, the Aries are, I believe it's a Shin'en that's pretty violent. But he was able to spread the information that a very rare and powerful quirk enhancer has been distributed. And this is a very similar quirk enhancer to Boost. Or, I forget what that stuff was called. Oh, Trigger, that's what it was. A newer version of Trigger without the nasty side effects. And also, about twice as powerful as the original, so very dangerous. Now let's get to the next one. Now, the next one is actually one of the fewer people who stands up taller amongst his family. This guy doesn't really have any different colored eyes. His guys are more like gray, like most people in this world. Except he doesn't have a secondary color around his pupil. Just a solid gray. I think someone else in his family has this. It's one of his sisters. Now, he's the third born. Brooks Zodiac. Here name Pisces. Quirk Zodiac sign number 3. Stand at a whopping 6'10", while his brother Theo Zodiac stands at a nice 6 foot. He literally has to look up to his younger brother. His younger brother is a very, very adept swimmer. And when I say very adept, I mean it. Now, this guy is able to split himself into two, but each of them, that's all he's able to do, really. But they're each only around 3 foot to 5, so relatively short. Now, he is, now while in that form, they work like a hive mind, put it lightly. Now what I mean by that is, well, they share the same ideals, and he's practically just there, but not there. It's a weird thing. Think of like bees. They work as a hive, and that's how they work. Now these are really strong. They work really well as a team. Now, back in his main form, in the case the form mostly stays in, because staying too long as a separation can give him a major headache. It's like he says, like last time I interviewed him, says, it feels like after going out and drinking for a few hours and coming back to having killer hangover. And I asked him how I used the power transfer temporarily, and I saw what it was like. Yeah, I would not recommend. It was not power transfer. It's more like just a simple, how do you put, power copy temporary. It was an artificially created quirk machine. Now, his role in the story was that he was able to spread it a lot more and faster after hearing it from CL. Now, CL has already told a few very big agencies, like Shoto's agency and Red Riot's agency. Now, there's quite a few other heroes, like Chakra Araka's agency, but she is married to Azuka Midoriya. And they have something called a grouped agency, meaning they have 3 agencies in total, but there's a third agency that basically is a connection between the two. Now, Pisces also is split into 2, and whenever we're told, Uraraka and the other people, the middle agent of the joint agency, about what's going on. So, yeah, they started to create plans to raid the place and get the new improved trigger quirk enhancing drug off the streets before everyone gets out. Now, the next person is someone who seems pretty violent, but isn't really violent. But she can be when she wants to be. She doesn't really take after her mother's muscular figure in some sense, but she's relatively muscular herself. Name Emmy Zodiac, 4th child. Her name Aries, that's her zodiac sign. Quirk Zodiac sign number 4. And she also has the ability to control, how do I put this, fire. And like her brother, is able to control water. Also forgot. Yeah, she mostly is known to create little fire spears using that part of her powers. But she's also known to literally back up and charge at people while fighting. It's a very noticeable move, but she's blindingly fast because she's also able to use her flames in tandem with this. She can also temporarily create little constructs with it, like a Green Lantern, or like any lantern, but trust me, she is very powerful. Her main abilities, she actually only stands at around 5'5", so not really very tall, but still quite tall for a woman. And to be honest, she scares me, and I have a few quirks. By that, I mean I am practically something we called a Nomu. I'm surprised I am not one. I think it's because of my original quirk. But I'll talk about myself, and the reason why I'm leaning more to the focus on the hero side. Now, she has a machine on her back that lets off constant smoke, because unlike her other siblings, she doesn't really have full-on immunity to her powers. Like her brother Aquarius cannot be suffocated, or her brother Onyx can't be crushed very easily, and Brooks is immune to water pressure change. Unlike them, she's immune to burns all the way up to 3rd degree, which is pretty impressive. But once it gets hotter, she needs to put out the heat somewhere, so the heat is actually transferred into her body, which causes her to wear out a lot faster. Now, to change that, she actually has a machine on her back to cool herself down, which is a pretty impressive thing. Now, her role was to actually, after coordinating the attack, she was one of the group leaders, and her job was to get through the gate after they showed their warrant. So they showed their warrant, and she backed up, charged at the gate, but activated her flame power, melted the gate after denting it with her bare head. She's notoriously thick-skulled too, so both figuratively and literally, so she was able to survive that end. And she burned straight through, and they were in on the premises. Now, the next person is another Earth elemental one. Her sister, and her name is Venus Zodiac. Her name, Taurus. And Zodiac sign number 5. Unlike any of her siblings, who mostly have black hair, and her and Violet, who has green hair, she has red hair. Now, all these have their have symbols of their zodiac signs on there, on some part of their chest, or on somewhere on the costume. She is most noticeably for her weirdly biological rock tail. It's a very short tail, but she's able to maneuver it very effectively. She's also really, really strong. Her figure is very similar to her sister's, but she's actually on a solid 5 foot. But not let that underestimate her. She still is really strong. Aries said, if we were to fight hand to hand in combat, I would lose within 5 minutes. Because she's very acrobatic and strong, and just overall really deadly. Yeah, which also helps because of her ability to bend Earth. So, yeah. She's also most known to create little imitations of her tail, but use them like a flail, or have rocks go around her, like most of her other siblings who have these abilities, and use them as shields, projectiles, or to make weapon constructs, which is, trust me, very powerful. And she actually has bull horns on her head, just like Emily has goat horns on her head. And Venus is most notably known for her tricky nature and the fact that she enjoys hiding little small thin rocks, but then adding their density by adding more rocks to them while in the air. She's known to jump off buildings, and when she's coming down, to kick her foot out, and using her abilities to gather more rocks around it, and to literally have a very sharp tip. And that's what allowed, now that is what she exactly did when she was with her sister in that part of the raid. They were split into groups of 3. One was a group of 4. She kicked down the door, and for the record, they were grouped into 4, 1 for each element, and 1 had an extra water one. And she kicked down the door, and she started flinging rocks around, and, well, she also injured a guy in the shoulder after hitting him. She hit him, took it out, and then flipped him over, and stepped her foot on his face. So, yeah. When I heard that, I watched it on the news, I was a little scared. Because I know I don't want to fight her. No. Even though my quirks are pretty powerful, I don't want to fight her. So, let's just get to the next one. Now, the next one is another wind bearer. She was actually supposed to be one of 2 twins, but she sort of accidentally absorbed her twin while in the womb. Name, Pearl Zodiac. Her name, Gemini, which is her zodiac sign. She's the 6th child. Quirk, zodiac sign, 6. Now, she doesn't really have any abilities. All of her abilities come from her air sign. Now, she does have 2 personalities, and she does have a minor strength enhancement. What am I saying, minor? It's pretty much quadruple times more powerful than her mother's. So, times 2 make her double strong. Now, she takes a little bit more after her mother's muscular figure, but also takes more closely to her sister's. Now, her sibling is able to conjure herself in hands or wind. And they're able to talk to her in her mind, which is very effective, but she's also able to use the air to create sounds that sound like a voice to talk to her other sibling. Her sister goes by the same name, but Pearly is her name. But they share the same body, but Pearl is the main one to control. Now, her sister is very nice. She would actually mostly conjure hands to help Pearl out by grabbing opponents and flipping them out of the way, which is exactly what she did when someone was coming up behind her with a invisibility quirk that was very similar to Toru's. And matter of fact, she was actually a fan of Toru's, and she was spending time with her agency, actually learning how to have Pearly. Well, Pearly was spending time there with Pearl, and they were learning how to make Pearly's arms so thin in air they would practically go invisible, which is how they were able to pretty much get a good sneak on this opponent. The opponent leapt down, deactivating their quirk with a knife. He saw hands going around, but he thought the quirk was deactivated because the hands disappeared. But little did he know, they literally then turned around and grabbed him in the air, lifting him off the ground. He was like, what's going on? And then the hands turned back to re-show themselves, and a face showed up in the air and says, and this was Pearly, she said verbatim, "Do not mess with my sister unless you want me to rip your lungs out by using the very oxygen you breathe in." Yeah, that guy crapped himself. I saw that part. Because the guy was naked. He was just wearing some underwear. That's the downside of his quirk. He's what I could guess. And the load he dropped was so sudden and so strong, it literally made his underwear go boop off his pants, go off his body. Now, Pearlie was able to avert her sister's eyes from that, and she then tied them up and actually tied up in a bag with his head poking out so no one would have to see that. Pearlie said, "I am now mentally scarred for life." And the raid continued as normal for now. Now, the next person, who's the seventh child, he's actually my zodiac sign. His hero name is Cancer. His name is Anthony Zodiac. Quirk, zodiac sign 7. He is also a water elemental. He's also a water bender. Water element quirk guy. How do I put it? It's hard to put, okay? Basically, his element for his sign is water. Very nice guy, but don't get on his bad side. Yeah. He's usually very nice, but when he wants to, he can be really brutal. Take it from all the villains he's fought after getting his provisional license. They've all said, "We said one bad thing about his family, and the next thing we know, we are bloody and beaten and on the ground with a few broken bones and a few lacerations, and his claws of his hero costume are bloody." Yeah. His hero costume has claws, which are actually biological, weirdly enough. He says that he can grow them and shrink them at will, but they're always there on his hands. They don't really get in the way because he's able to shrink them down to the size. They're just like little armor plating. Now, he can grow them up to 4 times the size of his actual hands. And they're able to cut straight and break a sword made of a tungsten titanium katana in half easily without breaking a Swiss that's 4 to 15 times over. So very strong and very durable. Yeah. And using those very claws and his ability to bend water at will, he was able to knock one guy out by practically icing his blood just enough for him to make him knock out for a while. Now, the way he used his claws was he, how do you put this? He grabbed the next opponent and then slammed him into the ground, and then proceeded to have a third opponent come at him after seeing his two brothers, one literally being iced, the other one gets slammed. The other one, that guy had a strength enhancement quirk, and he got kicked in the face by, how do you put this? He got hit in the face by Antony's other sister, the one he's closest to, and directly after him. Now, his sister is named Corona Zodiac. Her name is Leo. Zodiac sign, that's 8 is her quirk. Now, her quirk, it allows her to turn any part of her body into that is very similar to a lion's. But she also has the ability to control fire at will. But she has a full-on immunity to flames and fire. Just anything that's closer to black flames, she cannot withstand. Now, the only difference of her costume, it's most likely either yellow or close to tannish yellow. The only difference is her blue jeans and blue shoes. and also the pinks on her paws, which are her actual hands, she's able to turn. But she prefers, whenever she has her hero costume on, to keep them as claws to help her climb and hunt down opponents. But she is able to actually coat her hands in fire in order to melt through doors and walls a lot faster than her siblings. She was in her team with she was with a team with Venus Zodiac, Pearl Zodiac, Antony Zodiac. Yeah, her other siblings who she's very close to. And they busted down the door and just went ham on their opponents. And when I say ham, I mean she literally mopped the floor with them. And she, after being sidetracked with saving a few kids that were being used as lab rats to make sure the experiments and the new trigger serum, which have some effects on them, i.e. enhancing their quirks permanently, but also giving them minor, how do you put this, minor other quirks. It's very weird. There's 4 of them. I might go over them sometime in the future. And she had them guided out by Fat Gum, who's still a hero, but just under a different agency. Still very popular, and he still runs his own agency on his side. And when she saw that, she leapt up into the air like her brother about to be attacked by the 3rd brother. And she leapt into the air and kicked the guy in the face. Notice her, she has ground claws, 1 out from her back of her foot, and 3 in the front of her foot that pierced through her shoes. So her shoes are literally designed to have room for those claws. So, yeah, the guy got hit in the back of his head. For the record, his quirk also caused him to have a thick skull, so he didn't die, just a fractured skull. And he was out for the count because her strength is very strong and very high, and she actually takes after more of her mother's figure and father's figure of muscular wise. So, yeah. And her father is really, really muscular. Ugh. Do not get on his bad side. So, let's just get to the next one. The next one is the leader of another group. His name is Aster Zodiac, 9th sibling. Her name is Virgor. It's not Virgor. It's Virgo, which is his zodiac sign. Now, while in the womb, his mother thought he was going to be a girl. Hence, so she got a few girly clothes, but she wasn't able to return them after finding out that he was in fact a dude. But he always liked the Japanese style clothes of Komodos, but he always liked wearing pants underneath them, which literally became his hero costume. A modified Komodo that's made of Kevlar and with his Zodiac symbol on one of its sides. Now, he's a very thin man, but do not let that underestimate him. He has the reflexes of a woman and the flexibility of one too. So, do not underestimate him. I'm talking like one of the world class gymnast levels of flexibility and acrobatics. Yeah. And fighting a Komodo is like fighting a boxer with punching gloves. Without punching gloves, he can utterly wreck the guy. I'm talking the world's best boxer versus him. The boxer will lose. And that's with him not even using his earth part of his quirk. Now, he is very violent when people start saying he's a girly boy. He says he He is straight and not trans. He just likes girls. Just likes girls' clothes. The Komodo wise. So, let's just say, a few villains said that to him. And they were later found with a few, rocks. They were found pinned against the wall with a few rocks. Yeah. The guy summoned rocks and pulled them out of the walls. And then used his powers and drove them into the guy's clothing and skin and muscle and pinned him against the wall. The biggest one managed to break free, but he proceeded to use his acrobatics and gymnastics and all that, also his flexibility, to his advantage. Not to mention, this guy has taken practically every single real well-known version of martial arts and proceeded to wreck the guy by putting him in a chokehold, using his legs and tensing up his muscles and pulling them together and grabbing his head and poking into his eyes. Note, he was not using any part of his perfect quirk, and only to restrain the guy after knocking him out. Yeah, the guy was found with very thick rocks around his body, just like practically like a cocoon, and it was practically like a coffin. They nearly walked over him before they heard mouthful screaming, from what I've heard from the reports. Yeah, do not tick him off. And the next one is the name I already stated earlier. Her name is Violet Zodiac. Her name, Libra. Zodiac sign, 10 is her quirk. Now, Libra's zodiac sign is that of, how to put a scale. Now, she is the most, most, level-headed out of all the siblings. Now, her emotions can get the better of her sometimes, but not most of the time. And she actually, stands at a nice, 5'11", so just a few inches above some of her family members. Now, her powers have to do with the scales on her hands, which are actually mutant particle quirks. They're practically like metal bracelets with some curls and little weights. Not really weights, but like little scale pieces. One level weighs how much anger or badness the one guy has, and how much goodness is one in the other. The more rage in someone's opponent gives her a more of a strength enhancement, while as the goodness allows her to talk the guy down. Now, she also has the ability to, how do I put this, control air. So combine that with her the strength enhancement, and yes, that does include her quirk for strengthening it. So yeah, she was fighting one villain that had a lot of rage and committed a lot of heinous acts. So you can go ahead and tell how bad the guy got his butt handed him while she was literally mopping the floor with him. No, I'm talking, she was literally lifting the guy up, plunge his head in water, and clean up blood splatters from their fight with his long hair. He did not like it. She then later knocked him out after doing that a few times. Heroes did not stop her because her family is known as the Zodiac 13, and they are very, very powerful. Her father is actually a former high-ranking hero. Now, another villain she later encountered was someone who just got in with the wrong crowd, but was actually just doing there for money to support his family. Now, this is where the talking and her air powers come in handy. This allows her, this part allows her to manipulate the air to make it to make him a lot more, or her phone a lot more easy to talk to. Basically making the air be able to travel and make her voice sounds a lot more soothing, which is certainly very helpful. So let's get to the next one. The next one is actually someone you do not want to tick off at all. He's the complete opposite of his sister. He's one of the most violent out of all of them. And also one of the least level-headed. Name is Phoenix Zodiac. He's actually has the ability to control, if I remember correctly, goes in that order. Yeah, control water. And he also has another brother after him who has the ability to control water. Very weird. He is the 11th child, and he shares a birth month with his older brother. And his quirk is Zodiac sign number 11. Now, and his hero name is Scorpio, so yeah, let that sink in. He has the ability to, how do you put this, to shrink and grow his claws at will, just like his brother, but he cannot shrink and grow his scorpion tail. Yeah, that's something he cannot do. Now, he can create water and bend it to his will, but he has a special ability in an ultimate move he calls poisoned water, or venomous water, depending on how it is. But he mostly uses the water in someone's blood. He uses his scorpion tail to inject a venom in them, but using his ability on a very low level actually helps it infect and spread it. He can't control what kind of poison it is. Sometimes it's actually just a very weak neurotoxin that paralyzes the people for a while. Other times it's a near instant death attack for very violent offenders. Now, any slight wrongdoing that he sees will immediately get his blood boiling, and you nearly gets into the morgue. That's exactly what happened to this one villain. This one villain, well, he was going in deeper ahead of his siblings, and for the record, Libra was the leader of this group. And the group was made up of the five: Aster, Violet, Phoenix, and his other two siblings, Hello Zodiac and Archer Zodiac. Let's just say he went ahead and saw a female hero knocked out and someone about to assault her in a bad way. Yeah, he does not take kindly to that kind. When the rest of his when the remaining others got in there, they found the guy on the floor, missing a few fingers, teeth, and a leg nearly about lopped off, and him literally foaming at the mouth and blood all around him. Yeah, Scorpio explained what happened and what he did. Everyone was like, yeah, deserved it. And believe me, if I was there right now, I would have ended that guy. But past me would have just sat there and just let it happen. Don't really like my past self, but I've been getting better and better. Let's just get to the next one. Now, this next one, his name, as one already stated, is Hello Zodiac. He was actually originally thought to be a female, but turned out to be a very, very masculine male. Not to the point of toxic masculinity, but on the verge. And he kept the name of Hello because It fits his personality really well. His quirk is Zodiac sign number 12, and his Zodiac sign is Ophiuchus. Give me 1 second because I do not remember how to frickin' pronounce that name. His surname is Ophiuchus. So, yeah. And it's also a snake bearer. The snake is actually biologically connected to him. Yeah, look at his body. He can make it disappear within his body and make it sprout out anywhere he wants, but he mostly keeps it on his back or around his neck. He can make it curl around his arm, and he can actually use the tail and elongate it at will, just as a whip. Combine that with his ability to control water and actually freeze it, unlike some of his other siblings. It's a very deadly combination, but you can also make it a very, he can also control how powerful the venom is, make it non-venomous, make it stricter, or make it a regular garter snake, which is what it usually is, just a regular garter snake. So, yeah. Now, he was along with his brother, Archer. They were going in to investigate and find the head honcho, which was their main mission, given to them straight from Izuku Midoriya. They all knew because, funny enough, even though being the 12 and 13 sons respectively, they are two of the most powerful among them all. Next to Libra being either the first or second strongest. I can't really figure out who's stronger. Now, he's most known to sprout tendrils of water off his back to help with offense and defense. Similar to tendrils from those kokakus. Those cocoons. Oh, nasty creatures. Nasty things. Well, they found the head honcho. Yeah. Turns out it was someone who had practically mirrored what was his name? Overhaul. Just a nastier quirk. This quirk allowed him to behave very similar to All For One and Overhaul. It had the ability to take, but only temporarily, and then the quirk will immediately go back. But he can deform the quirk and cause nasty modifications to it. At will, might I add. But he also had the ability to break down the surrounding area and temporarily make a quirk out of that. But if you really felt like it, you could keep the quirk with a drawback that it would make his hangover about 500 times worse than the last one I talked about. Now, how do I put this? What was his name? I keep forgetting names. Hello walked in and saw that the guy was about to finish the improved trigger drug, and for the record, he also had some quirk erasing bullets fused from by simply same thing he Overhaul did with Aries, cutting them open and extracting blood. This really ticked him off. He sprouted his tendrils and thickened them and made their tips immediately to ice. Sprouted his snake in one hand and make it one of the most powerful venoms he could, and immediately summoned the tail, wrapped it around his other arm and elongated it. And then literally before his brother had a second to take it in, he leapt in and started piercing the guy and fighting him off. Now, he managed to... Now, the villain's name was Over One, which was the name of his quirk. Over One and... yeah. he touched the ground and saw multiple spikes after him. But Heli slashed them away and jumped out of the way, piercing him in the legs and freezing his legs in place. And he managed to hit him with the snake, which knocked him out cold. Now for the 13th son, who turns out very different from the rest of his family. Stands a solid 7 feet tall because of his quirk. You see, his quirk causes him to be a centaur, not of his own free will, might I add. Now, he is a nice guy in general, but his quirk also allows him to control fire. He mostly is noticeable creating fire bows and arrows using this. And his first name actually makes a lot of sense because he's a very, very skilled archer. Like, I'm talking able to pick a peregrine falcon out of the sky when it's going in for a dive about 5 miles away. Yeah, and his eyesight is extremely good as well. So, yeah. Do not want to get on his bad side. Especially when he's able to pick off something that far away. So, just all in all, be very, very, very nice to him if you can. Or you will be pegged with flaming arrows. Now, what his role in it all was to incinerate the quirk enhancing drugs and racing drugs, but to bring one sample back of each for research purposes. He really did not like this idea, but he had to follow through with it. Izuku promised that no kids would be harmed when they tried to make a synthetic version, meaning they were going to research and see if they could make it using chemicals instead of human blood. Archer was actually very happy about this, and so was the other kids. So they went home and celebrated. And those 4 kids actually lived with them now because they had grown super stupidly close to them during the rescue mission. When I say stupidly close, like I'm talking, they could not be removed, and they started to cry when they said they were going to be taken to the taken away. And those 3 kids are actually siblings. And they're not, they are biologically related to each other, but they are not with the Zodiacs. Legally, they're more or less foster kids or family and friends that allow them to stay. So, yeah, and that's the tale of the first ever raid that the 13 Zodiacs went on, and I was impressed with what happened with them. Really nice people. So, and that's all for today. Oh, and I forgot to mention Archer's hero name. It is his zodiac sign, which is the 13th zodiac sign, but originally the 12th, which is known as Sagittarius, which is like a little cross with a arrow on the top of it. So, all in all, a very interesting bunch of heroes. And like I already stated, I really like them. And they're really nice people. So, now that's all for today. Well, I hope you all enjoyed today's video, because that's all the time I got for today. Until next time, subscribe to join the Spy Coast Army or Demon Alliance. Goodbye, and peace out, everyone.